Thank you, Sally. So again, that is Joseph being tempted. And we have an inner world and an outer world. We have the outer world, right? There's an outer world, an outer environment, and there's our inner life. And we have an inner life and an outer life, right? And we have actually, well, science says we have two brains. And there's two parts to our brain. And then I would say that we have another part to our mind, right? We have another mind, our brain. So science says we have, which we do, right? We have our logical prefrontal cortex, our conscious brain, and then we have our subconscious, okay? And our subconscious is the part of us that's sub, right? That is the programmed part. That's the part of us that gets programmed from 0 to 7. We get programmed. We're in a programmable state. We're in a theta brainwave state where we are programmable. Okay, that's a meditative state. We'll talk about that later in another one of the principles. But that's the internal, and then we have, that's the subconscious. And then we have the conscious part of us, and that's the part of us that's aware. That's the part of us that's more focused on the external world. So the sub is the internal, the conscious is more focused on the external world. That's the logical. Now, where do we make most of our decisions from? We make most of our decisions from the subconscious. That's our heart. So the part of us that was programmed from 0 to 7, where we develop belief systems, we get those belief systems downloaded on us based on what we see, based on what we're told, what we interact with, and then we believe. And then we go through the rest of our lives until we say, wait a minute, this program is spitting out some things that I don't agree with. But we go through the rest of our lives interacting with and reacting to the outer world from those programs subconsciously. Okay, now that is just the reality. Now those are the two brains. Now when we come to know God and we say, yes, I want you to be my king of my life, then we get another mind. That's the eternal mind, right? That's what we would call the eternal mind. That's the mind of Christ. And that's what we are now. That's what we are choosing to renew, as it says in Romans 12, to be transformed. Don't conform to the world, and instead be transformed. And transformation is another word for metamorphosis, which is what a caterpillar goes through when it's turning into a butterfly. That's an internal transformation. It's not just an external change. It's not just behavior modification. So going through that process, we decide when we say yes to him that I want my internal, my programming to match what your word says. I'm choosing for my subconscious and my conscious to match what your word says. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to start going through some of the steps that we can do to be intentional about that reprogramming. So I asked you guys, Sally sent out an email. We asked you guys to come with an area that you really want to be intentional about reprogramming, an area of our lives, right? We can choose and be intentional to do that. Okay. Now, but there are some disciplines that we would need to be intentional about deciding to do, right? And that's because it can happen quickly, but it still takes some steps and some decisions about being intentional to do some things. Make sense? Okay. So what I want to do before we actually go on to the presentation, I want to give a couple of people. A few of you said, yes, I did the talking meditations. Who did the talking meditation? Who was doing that during the week? The talking meditation. Okay, Marty, you raised your hand. And you raised your, yeah.
Yes, I did.
And I know you're courageous. So
Oh, yes, I am. I take that.
yes,
I receive that.
good. So, Marty, would you mind just sharing with us
Sure.
the talking meditation that you did during the week? And before you do that, let us know if you noticed anything. If you noticed
Okay.
anything before, if you noticed anything, about the questions, just what you became aware of.
Well, so it was I have Lisa as my therapist personally. So I've been going through a lot of difficulties in my life with divorce and becoming and living alone and just trying to see my future and see it positively, rather than feeling like a little lamb in the wilderness. And so she had me have a conversation with myself and describing my future and what it looks like, and that I would have my own place that I've picked out that is, decorated by me. And I have found a job that I love, and I work with people and learn new things every day. And my relationship with my daughters is growing every day closer and closer. And I'm just feeling so much peace, and I'm sleeping soundly. And so I would just have that conversation with myself out loud, sometimes walking around, sometimes, yeah.
So,
So,
Marty, I'll ask you, would you mind doing it? Just doing the conversation. Just you're sharing it with us. So remember, I want to say something. So the talking meditations, right, are we're tricking, in a sense, our brain. Our subconscious brain does not know the difference between what we're imagining and speaking and what is happening in the outer world. Because I'm not even going to say what's happening in the outer world is real, because it's more real than that, right? So it doesn't know the difference. And so they have done studies where they have found that people who just mentally rehearse doing an action, whether it's shooting, they did it a lot with sports, shooting baskets. The people who just did mental rehearsing, did not go to the gym and shoot. They compared them to the people who actually did physically. And guess what? They had the same results.
wow.
In many of the cases. So it doesn't. So we're tricking, we're using a part of our operating system that God designed. We're basically, in a sense, manipulating for the good what God has designed for us to intentionally manipulate. He intentionally designed for us to manipulate our language, because that's our operating system, and our vision. And words create images, and images is the language of our heart. And once in our heart, that's connected to our subconscious. And once our heart gets something, once something's downloaded on our heart, guess what? It's going to happen, good or bad, right? Because once our heart believes it, it says, okay. It's like it's a program. It says, oh, okay. And God designed us that way to preserve energy, so that as much as we can have these programs just automatically running, then it doesn't have to think about it. We don't have to think about it. It's like, okay, oh yeah, I know where I'm going. Oh, I hear. I didn't have to think about it. Okay, so when we were doing these talking meditations, and it's like it's rehearsing it, and it's saying out loud, and it's seeing it when we're saying it, and then we're also getting in touch with the emotion that's connected. So he says in Mark 11, he says, when you pray, believe that you have received, and you will have what you pray. He says, call on things that be not as though they are. Okay. So when we're doing this, that's what we're doing. We start to speak about things like that. Then it starts to be like, oh my gosh, this is true. He says, faith comes by hearing and hearing the word. So this is what we're doing, right? That's what this is. Okay. So Marty, could you, and I know sometimes it's hard because we're like, oh, I feel like, people have said to me, but I feel like I'm lying. I feel like I'm lying. And I said, you know what? If you're saying something that doesn't match God's word, that's lying. Mm-hmm. Right? Even if it looks like something else, if we're speaking something that doesn't, that's really actually, depending on what we believe. That's what I believe. All right. So you ready, Marty? I was giving you some time to
to think.
No,
to prepare.
So now you're just going to say it like what those things that you're saying. But you're going to say, you're just going to, and it's kind of you're going to do it like a rant. Remember, this is just self-taught. Do this when you're planning. We're planning what we're going to talk about ahead of time. And so whatever area each of you picked, whatever area of your life anyone picked to improve, then like I picked organization. Okay. I'm doing this too. I have areas too that I'm still, just like, okay, improving this area. So whatever area we pick, then that's one, actually I'm doing more than one area, but when we pick them and when we're in our own space or when we're by ourselves and we notice ourselves, I'm just intentional about, oh yeah, okay, we have this conversation. Oh yeah, okay, I'm good organized and I have this, I have my schedule planned out and I haven't like, all right, go ahead, Marty.
Oh, all right. So, okay. I finally feel so much peace and rest. I'm finally living from that place of peace inside of me where I feel strong. I'm physically so healthy. I have just so much energy and so much just vitality and strength and lightness about me. And I feel so at ease as well. My mind isn't racing with all different thoughts. It's just calm and it's excited and hopeful and anticipating good things throughout the day. I wake up and I look forward to the day and I'm refreshed after a sound night of sleep. And my relationships with my daughters are improving every day. We're getting closer and closer and they're healing. And I'm excited to find some new relationships and make new relationships with new friends and improve my family relationships. And I found a beautiful, beautiful condominium that I've moved into, and I've decorated it exactly how I wanted it to be decorated. And the rooms are so cozy and warm. And I love coming home to this space. It is just so comfy and so welcoming and so homey. It's exactly how I've always wanted a home to feel. And I love my bedroom. I love my bedroom. It's like a sanctuary. And it's just, I have the most comfortable bed and I just filled it with pillows and just, I'm surrounded just by things that I love. And I painted it yellow because yellow is my favorite color and it reminds me of God's love. So emotionally, I'm just so much at peace. Again, I just feel at peace. I'm just happy and content with where my life is at. And although I don't know the future, I know God knows the future and I know his plans are so good for me that if my plans don't work out, it's because there's better things ahead. And I've found work that I can do that I feel so like I'm learning new things, but I'm also engaging with people and being able to share God's glory with people and really just feeling fulfilled. And I come home at the end of the day and I just feel like my life has been so filled with good things, but I've also filled others up as well. So it's been just my future has just was better. It as I had hoped, the best was yet to come, and it is, and it still is to come, but it really has just improved dramatically. So I'm so thankful.
Yay! Marty, that is so
Marty.
exciting. I am so happy for you. That is awesome. Wow. I love all of these amazing things that have happened in such a short time. I'm excited about your relationships and that you've found your new condominium and this and just the peace, especially the peace in your relationship with God. That is exciting. I'm so happy for you.
Oh, and I'm really, really healthy, really healthy.
Yeah. See, that's all. See, now, Marty, what did you notice while you were doing that?
I was getting more and more excited about my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was stepping away from the automatic, they call them ants, automatic negative thoughts
Mm-hmm.
that at this point try to bombard, and stepping outside of that and saying, no, this is what my future looks like. This is what my future holds.
Yes.
And
Good.
also getting away from the past, really trying to make that vision my present, even though it isn't physically my present right now. I'm trying to make that my present.
Well, it is your present.
It is my present. Wow.
And so this is the other thing, and is that again, remember there. The other thing about our subconscious, it doesn't know time. All time is right now.
Okay.
And so when we become one with whatever it is that language, and that's the other thing that does, it's helping us to become one with the truth. Those things that you said were true. Remember, when maturity is putting what God says above what we even see. He says, 2 Corinthians 4 says, put your eyes on what's above. Because what you can see, what we could see is temporal. And what's temporal is not real. It's only temporal. It's not. So instead of putting more emphasis on what we can see, feel, touch, hear, smell, faith is the substance of things not seen, the evidence of things hoped for, not seen, felt, hear, touch. Okay. So that is, so what you just said, Marty, that was true. So that is what the talking meditations are. What if Marty did that most of the day? What if we all, right? What if all throughout the day, especially it was having that conversation, not letting just the thoughts go, but having that conversation with the heart and with the mind? There's no room for the ants, right?
Yeah.
The ants creeping in. It doesn't leave room. That's what. So then we're not even trying to focus on. We're not trying to push away the negative. We're just replacing. We're putting in with what's true and focusing and speaking that. Then there's no room.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I wish I did that more. I need to do it more because I see what you're saying. It's
yeah, and that's where it's okay, and you will, but that's where this is where the practice, we're practicing this lifestyle of focusing on taking the thoughts captive, but even being intentional about what we're saying and what we're thinking. Okay.
Can I share something really quick, Lisa?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I like to listen because I understand the subconscious. I like to listen to things when I'm sleeping, and the Holy Spirit, when I get like really down, I have a harder time doing this conversation meditation stuff. So I tape myself. like
Yeah.
just what Marty did. I actually tape myself in this like, and if it's like about a job, if it's about how I feel about myself, whatever it is, I've kind of partitioned it out, and then I've recorded myself, and then I just play it when I either take a little cat nap, or I try to soak, or I go to bed, or if I'm just like catching myself feeling like, oh, I'm just never going to get a job. And I go, okay, if I don't feel like I can come out of it, I'll play my tape thing. That's really helped. But
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, do you know of any good tapes or videos like on YouTube that you like to listen to for subconscious things?
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
So, and that is, that's actually the taping, the recording. That is true, Tammy. That's one of the steps too, in the steps of taking our thoughts captive. So we're going to do that. We're going to get to that as well when we go through this. So, but let's go, we're going to go to the presentation real quick. Let's see here. And I'm just going to go through. Oh, wait, correct. Drive, yeah. Oh, and you guys will get this week now. You guys will get this. Okay, so we did the principles. So again, the principle 2 again, or principle 3 again, observe our thoughts. Remember, it was every thought. It's remembering that every thought that goes across our screen is not our thought. Every belief is not our belief. But when we're having thoughts that we don't want, we can also look at the beliefs they're connected with. So observe your thoughts. Our thoughts actually, and what we think on. There's been some research by Andrew Newberg about how thoughts of God changes our brain. And just thinking about God, just Isaiah 26:3 says he who keeps his mind stayed on Jesus stays in perfect peace. And guess what? Now there's actually science that proves that just by thinking about God improves our neural functioning. We actually form new dendrites and synaptic connections. It increases our sensitivity to other realms of experience. And we get expanded beliefs, and it actually gives us more beliefs, and in other words, more revelation just by thinking about God. But every thought is either a truth or a lie. Okay, so that's one. We're going to do principle number 4. Self-talk is the most powerful conversation. That's what we were doing. That's the question. But what we were doing, this practice, that's the self-talk. That's the most powerful conversation. So we need to decide. We need to be aware of the conversation that we're having with ourselves, and this is why. Or we can be intentional, right? And that's what this the talking meditation is. It's helping us to be intentional about what we're thinking, and then speaking that. So decide if the thought